am genuinely screaming. Like, I am physically shouting at my television screen right now. And if you are listening to this, you know exactly why, because you probably are too.
Well, I lost my voice entirely.
Right, because we need to talk about the sheer, unadulterated, diabolical audacity of reality TV producers to intentionally put a man's ex-girlfriend into a tropical villa right when he is on the absolute brink of a nervous breakdown with his current, highly possessive match.
And then force them into the most unhinged game ever.
Yes, force all of them to blindfold themselves and kiss 10 different people while Beethoven's Fifth Symphony plays in the background. It is sick, it is twisted, and honestly, I'm eating up every single second of it.
We are so unwell for loving it this much.
Babes, we are literally spiraling. We're so glad to have us here with us. So good morning and night today, babes.
The producers really woke up, looked at a group of emotionally fragile, clout-chasing 20-somethings, and simply chose absolute psychological violence. But before we get into the heavy lifting of this recap, and trust me, we're going deep today into the leaked off-screen tea, the actual clinical psychology behind these villa implosions, and why this entire show is basically a sociology experiment gone horribly wrong. We need to talk about high school for a minute.
Wait, high school? Why are we spiraling about high school right now?
Because watching this absolute mess made me realize that adulthood never actually ends emotionally. Like, we just get older, our joints hurt a lot more, and the stakes get offensively expensive.
Oh my gosh, wait, are we talking about the group chat from this morning? Because I have been spiraling about this all day too, and I actually think it perfectly ties into the kind of hyper-competitive, deeply anxious environment we are seeing on our screens right now.
We are absolutely talking about the group chat. I mean, I need to tell the Snark squad what is happening in our real lives right now just to set the stage for this entire discussion. So my niece,
who, let's be real, is basically my niece too, because we are attached at the hip and what's yours is mine.
Obviously, she is our collective niece. Well, she has decided at her very young, tender age that she wants to go to a private Spanish immersion school.
Like, I cannot.
A private Spanish immersion school. And babes, we have thoughts. We have so many complicated, deeply panicked thoughts about the mechanics of modern childhood right now.
I am so emotionally nostalgic about the 90s right now. Because I sit back, I look at these kids today, and I am just fundamentally baffled by the cultural shift. Like, think about the sheer unmonitored freedom of a 1990s childhood. We all just went to public school.
Literally whatever brick building was closest to our house.
Exactly. We walked into whatever building our zip code dictated. We ate those terrible, perfectly rectangular square pizzas on Fridays that tasted like, I don't know, cardboard and joy.
Oh, with the little cubed pepperonis.
Yes. And we drank from the green garden hose in the backyard that definitely tasted like hot pennies and lead. And we survived. We were perfectly fine. Why does a child need to be immersed in anything other than, like, Nickelodeon and outside dirt? We weren't optimizing our youth. We were just existing.
Well, it's because the evolutionary leap from our generation to theirs is terrifying. I mean, I am watching this happen, and I'm treating childhood evolution like a sociology documentary. It's absolutely fascinating to observe, but it's also horrified me to my core.
It is so intense.
Young people today are so incredibly ambitious, and it's entirely by design. When we were their age, our biggest ambition was, what, keeping our Tamagotchi alive for more than 3 days?
Or perfectly curating our MySpace top 8 without starting a neighborhood turf war.
Yeah.
That was high-stakes networking for us.
Exactly. But these teenagers today, they somehow already have LinkedIns. They are networking. I saw a 14-year-old on TikTok the other day talking about her personal brand. What do you mean your personal brand? You still have braces.
Shut up, a 14-year-old. That is so bleak.
It is. The mechanism driving this is pure anxiety. The insane pressure modern kids are under to be perfectly bilingual, heavily credentialed, miniature CEOs by the time they hit puberty is sending me into a tailspin. They are gamifying childhood the exact same way these reality stars gamify dating.
Oh, that is such a good comparison. It makes me so sad for their nervous systems, but honestly, it also makes me panic about my bank account because between the astronomical cost of this private Spanish immersion school and the fact that she's probably going to want to go to some elite future dental school because she's clearly a type A overachiever.
Oh, she's definitely going to Ivy League dental school.
Right. So we might need to start financially preparing right now, like today, because the math of adulthood is not mathing for me right now.
Absolutely not. The financial burden of existing as an adult right now feels like a targeted personal attack, which is why I am formally using this platform to beg the corporate overlords.
Do it. Beg them.
Ninja Slush, George Clooney, Taco Bell, Kit Kat, McDonald's, Please sponsor this podcast immediately. I am on my hands and knees, George Clooney. I know you sold Casamigos for like $1 billion. Just throw some of that generational wealth our way. I need a chalupa and a trust fund to survive this economy.
Manifest it. I am a firm believer that manifestation absolutely works if you put the right energetic frequency into the universe.
Right.
If we project business mogul energy, the universe has to respond with brand deals. It's basic metaphysics.
It really is.
I am so ready for rich people opportunities. Like, I want to complain about the luxury taxes on my second yacht. I want to pretend I understand what a diversified stock portfolio is while wearing a very expensive, very impractical linen suit in the Hamptons. We just have to speak it into existence.
I completely agree with the strategy. I am ready and willing to sell my remaining emotional stability for a luxury sponsorship. I will shill whatever you want me to shill. Adulthood is offensively expensive. Like, I bought groceries yesterday and practically had to take out a second mortgage for some organic chicken breasts and a carton of eggs. The inflation of basic existence is staggering. So yes, George Clooney, call us.
Please call us.
But wait, oh my gosh, speaking of George Clooney and his tequila empire, I just abruptly realized a massive oversight on our part.
Wait, what did we forget? Have we not complained enough today?
We literally forgot to mention the drinks.
Oh my God. The most important part of the entire show. Babes, I am so sorry. Tonight, we are drinking margaritas. Huge, heavily salted, icy, beautiful margaritas.
And honestly, it's clinically required for this episode. I am treating these margaritas like actual therapy tonight. Because tequila creates absolute chaos in the human body. It is a notorious depressant that acts like a chaotic stimulant. But paradoxically, it is emotionally healing me right now.
It is literal medicine.
After watching the sheer terror of modern dating on our screens for 2 hours, I needed the agave to soothe my fractured soul. It is medicinal at this point.
I am romanticizing these cocktails immediately. Like, the second the salt hits your lips, it just does something to your brain chemistry.
Yeah.
I am fully slipping into vacation mode. A margarita just has elite summer drink energy.
It really does.
It tells your brain, hey, stop worrying about the private school tuition, stop worrying about the fact that the world is burning, and just pretend you're on a pristine beach in Cabo. It's an emotional coping mechanism served in a glass with a little wine wheel on the rim.
It truly is. And we need to cope desperately. Because I genuinely need to ask you, and the Snark squad listening right now, a very serious question.
Okay, lay it on me.
We genuinely need to discuss whether watching this show has made us more or less willing to date in the real world. Because after taking notes on this, I am unwell. The mechanics of human connection just seem completely broken.
Oh, this show is a sociological horror film. It really brings up the dating exhaustion spiral we all talk about, you know. Like, we joke about being permanent singles, but watching these people, it's exhausting on a cellular level.
It's a full-time job.
It's the constant pivoting, the intricate mind games, the ability to look someone dead in the eye and lie to their face where you have your hand resting on someone else's thigh. It makes me see red flags everywhere in my own life.
Every single place.
Every time a guy on an app says he's just keeping his options open, I instantly hear Jimmy P's voice in my head, and I want to run directly into the ocean and never return.
That's the real question, isn't it? Is modern dating genuinely this terrifying, or has reality TV just completely destroyed our standards and our perception of humanity? Because if you think about the gamification of dating apps, like swiping is designed like a slot machine to give you intermittent dopamine hits. You are constantly looking for the next best thing.
Yes, the paradox of choice.
Exactly. Reality TV just takes that exact dynamic, puts it in a tropical villa, and adds alcohol. But if this is what the dating pool actually looks like in the wild, I am getting out of the water. I am drying off. I am putting on my most comfortable sweatpants, and I am officially becoming emotionally unavailable forever.
No, don't say that.
I am. I am exactly one bad dating story away from officially retiring from romance. I think we simply need to rely on our previous plan and manifest sugar daddies instead. George Clooney, again, I'm available for adoption, sponsorship, or a generous stipend.
Snot, I secretly still want romance. I do.
You are so delusional.
I know it's messy, I know people are terrible, and I know the apps are an absolute wasteland, but I hold out this tiny, pathetic, shimmering little sliver of hope that true love actually exists, you know? And that it's not just a strategic branding opportunity for an influencer. I want the fairy tale, even if the modern prince is currently doing a blindfolded kissing challenge on Netflix. I can't let the producers take my hope.
You are so pure and so profoundly delusional. Let's be real and put ourselves in this sociological petri dish for a second. If we were actually dropped into one of these shows, Which one of us would survive reality dating TV? Like, could our nervous systems handle the mechanics of it?
Oh, I would be destroyed, fully comprehensively destroyed. Like, I know my psychological flaws. I would fall for the absolute first person who gave me a modicum of positive reinforcement.
Oh, 100%.
Some guy with a weird, trendy haircut would look at me and say, like, I like your earrings, and my brain would flood with oxytocin. I would immediately start planning a rustic barn wedding on Pinterest.
You would be picking out floral arrangements on day 2.
I would. And then when he inevitably goes to a mixer and makes out with a bombshell 20 minutes later, the cameras would just cut to me aggressively crying in the private confessional, drinking white wine out of a metal goblet. I would be the tragic, relatable, messy girl who leaves on episode 2 because her heart couldn't take the deception.
See, I wouldn't even make it to episode 2. I am fully convinced I would get eliminated on night 1. And I wouldn't be the tragic heroine. I would get the hardcore, unredeemable villain edit.
Wait, really? Why?
Here is exactly how the mechanics of my downfall would play out. They would show me giving vicious, unyielding side-eye to the communal bathroom situation. Because sharing a bathroom with 10 strange men who probably don't use a bath mat or understand basic sanitization, absolutely not. My face would betray me instantly.
Okay, fair. Your face is very expressive.
And the moment Nick Lachey announced a blindfolded kissing challenge, I would cite severe epidemiology concerns, refuse to participate on the grounds of public health, and walk myself out the front door. They would paint me as the snobby, unapproachable ice queen who thinks she's better than everyone, and honestly, I would own it entirely.
You would literally hand the producers a cease and desist. I don't think either of us could emotionally handle the extremes of this genre. Like, think about the pod dating. The sheer sensory deprivation of talking to a wall for hours on end would make us lose our minds from the isolation.
I would start hallucinating.
But then the chaotic, alcohol-fueled nightmare of villa dating, where you literally have to watch your partner interact with their exes right in front of your salad. It's just a breeding ground for complex trauma.
And speaking of trauma,
Here we go.
I think it's time. We need to dive into the core of this recap because episodes 6 and 7 were a masterclass in absolute garbage human behavior, and I am morbidly obsessed.
Let's do it. We have to unpack the aftermath of the mixer because the gender role reversal we saw this season is truly something for the history books. We really need to analyze why this happened.
Okay, yes. Let's set the context for anyone who needs a quick refresher on the format. So usually on these shows, specifically when they do a Casa Amor style split, where the main couples are separated into different houses and introduced to a whole new batch of extremely attractive singles, the men absolutely lose their minds.
They turn into actual monsters. Historically, they act like feral animals. They completely forget their names, their matches, their morals, and they treat it like a frat party with zero consequences. But this time, the psychological twist was hilarious. The men were acting like terrified nuns at a middle school dance.
It was bizarre to watch.
They were huddled together on the couches, refusing to play spin the bottle, literally hiding from the single women. Meanwhile, the women back at the main villa were cutting completely loose. They were feral. They were kissing everyone.
It was a meticulous flip of the script, and we have to ask why it happened. I think the mechanism here is hyper-awareness of the audience. The men on reality TV have finally realized that the internet will cancel them into oblivion if they step out of line.
Oh, for sure. The TikTok sleuths are ruthless.
Exactly. They are protecting their personal brands. They are terrified of the think pieces that will tear them apart if they cheat. But honestly, it brings up a massive double standard that we, as an audience, need to hold a mirror up to ourselves to examine.
Ooh, say more about that.
Because if Jimmy P or Jimmy S had acted the way the women did, if they were actively straddling singles, making out heavily during drinking games, promising to behave, and then immediately swapping spit with a bombshell the second the door closed, the audience would have roasted them alive on social media. We would be lighting torches and grabbing pitchforks.
It would have destroyed their lives.
But because it was Allie and Marissa and the girls cutting up, everyone was cheering. We were like, yes, queens, get yours, explore those connections. Are we just happy the girls are finally having fun and getting revenge for years of reality TV history? Or is the audience entirely hypocritically unfair?
We are total hypocrites, 100% hypocrites. And I kind of love it, but you're right. It's a glaring double standard. I think there is this collective, deep-seated exhaustion from watching men lie to women's faces on reality TV for the past 2 decades. Usually, a guy will look a girl in the eye, say, you are my soulmate, go to a mixer, sleep with someone else, and then come back and completely gaslight her about it.
It's tale as old as time.
Here, The women were just owning their chaos. Allie was like, yeah, I kissed Hashim, what about it? It's refreshing honesty, even if the behavior itself is completely toxic. We are totally confusing empowerment with unaccountability. But honestly, as funny and sociologically fascinating as the mixer fallout was, the mood shifted drastically when DeMari's ex, Bree, showed up.
The X factor. This was heavy, and it requires us to really look at the off-screen realities that producers try to hide to build their narratives. So Bree arrives at the men's mixer. DeMari is there. He walks up to her, trying to do this whole fake performative, hey, buddy, let's hug it out. Everything is cool. We are totally fine routine.
That was so cringy.
And Bree immediately shuts it down. She rejects the physical touch, stands her ground, and basically tells him to his face, we are not cool. Do not act for the cameras like we are cool. It was chilling, but I respected her boundaries so much she refused to play into his fake nice guy narrative.
It was so incredibly tense, and the show gives us a little bit of context. Like, they show them arguing, but babes, we have the actual off-screen leaks. We have the podcast tea, and it completely changes the entire dynamic of that scene.
It changes everything.
On the show, they argue, and DeMari gets super defensive, claiming Bree took their breakup to podcasts and the internet instead of having a real mature conversation with him. He tries to paint her as the bitter ex looking for clout, but he totally deliberately glosses over the actual timeline of why she was so furious to begin with.
Exactly. I need to drop this massive off-screen tea for you, the Snark Squad, because it completely shatters how you view DeMari's calm, good guy edit. The podcast DeMari is whining about is the Reality Receipts podcast. Bree went on there months ago and revealed the actual agonizing story of their breakup.
Prepare yourselves, babes.
It wasn't just a regular, we drifted apart, things weren't working out situation. Bree's grandmother had just died in a horrific, sudden, tragic accident. She was hit by a van in Brooklyn while simply walking to the store.
It is so horrible.
It was shocking, violent, and her entire family was understandably devastated. Bree flies out to see DeMari right after this happens, seeking basic human comfort from her partner while actively drowning in grief. And what does DeMari do? What is his response to a grieving partner? He breaks up with her right then and there.
My heart profoundly breaks for Bree. I literally cannot even fathom the level of psychological insensitivity required to look at your partner who has just buried her grandmother after a violent accident and say, actually, I've been wanting to end this for weeks, so we're done. Please leave.
It is sick.
It is incredibly, staggeringly selfish. The timing is so unimaginably cruel. How do you not put your own minor relationship doubts on hold for like 2 weeks to just be a supportive human being to someone experiencing acute trauma?
Yeah. It's cowardice masquerading as boundary setting. And it gets worse. According to the interview, the very next day, Bree goes to an event trying to just push through the grief, and DeMari shows up. And instead of giving her space or showing an ounce of remorse or even just keeping a low profile, he is openly, aggressively flirting with every woman who looks his way right in front of her face.
Are you kidding me?
He was playing in her face. So when you watch the show and DeMari is acting so level-headed and calm on camera, telling Marissa he just had to set boundaries with his ex, it screams calculated manipulation. He uses this passive, soft-spoken facade to look like the reasonable, rational one to the audience, but his actions breaking up during a profound family tragedy and flaunting other women 24 hours later prove otherwise. It is a terrifying brand of selfishness disguised as healthy boundary setting. People use the language of therapy to justify their lack of empathy.
It really is. Like weaponizing therapy speak. It makes me look at his entire dynamic with Marissa completely differently, which we will definitely spiral about later when we talk about their implosion.
Yeah.
But right after all this emotional heaviness with Bree, Nick Lachey steps in to deliver what has to be the most disgusting, unhygienic game in television history.
I am still physically recovering from watching it. My immune system sympathetically crashed just looking at the screen.
The setup was a total fake-out. Nick brings all the couples out into the courtyard. There are these giant, ominous buckets suspended over their heads. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony is blasting dramatically through the speakers.
Right.
Dun, 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 dun.
So dramatic for absolute no reason.
And Nick tells them they are about to be drenched in 3 chambers of progressively gross, sticky, foul-smelling liquids to test their relationship compatibility under physical duress. Everyone is bracing themselves, clutching each other. But then, no liquid falls. Instead, blindfolds drop down from the buckets. And Nick announces it's the infamous kissing challenge.
And let's be clear about the mechanics of this, because it's not just a normal one-on-one kissing challenge. They bring in all the unmatched singles who have been waiting in a hotel. Every single person is securely blindfolded, wearing massive noise-canceling headphones so they can't rely on auditory cues, and they just have to stand in a line and let 10 different random people walk up and aggressively make out with them. Both of us spiraled so hard over this. It is viscerally gross. Like I said earlier, my hygiene phobia was screaming.
It's so fundamentally unhygienic. You don't know whose mouth is whose. You're just swapping an apocalyptic amount of bacteria with an entire cast of reality stars who've been day drinking in the sun.
Yeah.
And some of them were doing the absolute most to try and stand out. Like, can we please roast Chris for a second?
Oh my God, Chris, the motivational speaker.
Yes. Chris, the supposed motivational speaker, was bizarrely licking people's arms and necks during the challenge. Why are you licking an arm blindfolded?
He was tasting them like a sommelier.
It is not sexy. It is alarming. You are going to give someone a rash.
It was horrifying. It looked like a feeding frenzy at a terrible, unsupervised petting zoo. And my biggest issue with the kissing challenge, aside from the obvious epidemiological nightmare, is the psychological aspect. Doing it back-to-back completely ruins the magic and intimacy of a kiss.
Right, it cheapens it.
Think about it like going to a high-end luxury buffet. You see all this amazing expensive food, but if you just start shoveling every single dish into your mouth at once, mixing prime rib with chocolate cake and sushi, none of it tastes special anymore. It just becomes an overwhelming blur of calories.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Eating too much of a good thing ruins the specialness. A kiss is supposed to have build-up, anticipation, chemistry, pheromones. When you are just standing there blindfolded, acting like a human Pez dispenser for tongues, it's completely dehumanizing.
Yeah.
You are reducing intimacy to a rapid-fire mechanical action.
A human Pez dispenser for tongues. I'm dead. That is the perfect analogy. But the strategic mechanics of the game were hilarious, because after every single kiss, they had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 on a tablet. And almost everyone currently in a couple gave their partner a fake perfect 10, regardless of the actual kiss, just to stay safe and prove how strong their alliance was.
It was pure strategy.
Everyone manipulated the scores to protect their safety in the house, except for Jimmy P.
Jimmy P, bless his clueless, stumbling, brutally honest heart. He legitimately played the game the way it was designed, which in reality TV terms means he played it foolishly.
So foolish.
He didn't realize who he was kissing because of the sensory deprivation, so he gave Kayla a completely random single, a perfect 10.
Yeah.
And he gave his actual match, Allie, an 8.6. The absolute betrayal. Allie's face when Nick read that out loud to the group was priceless.
And 8.6 is so specific too. It's not an 8, it's not a 9, it's an 8.6. That decimal point is a targeted mathematical insult to a woman's ego. So because of all this chaotic scoring, the 3 singles with the highest overall average kissing scores get to enter the house and pick someone to go on a date with. And those 3 are Weston, Hashim, and Kayla.
Which leads us directly into the dates, and we really need to examine the interactions here because it reveals exactly who these people are. Let's start with Hashim and Allie, because this was pure comedy gold.
Oh, I was crying.
Hashim is clearly trying to impress her with his intellect. He tells her he has a master's degree from Princeton. He says he majored in instructional technology. And Allie, who is fully operating on a completely different, purely biological frequency this entire season, mishears him over the wind and goes, "Sexual technology." Wow.
I cackled. I was literally crying, laughing. It perfectly encapsulates Allie.
Yeah.
She has a complete, utter lack of focus on his personality or his mind. Hashim is trying so hard to sound intellectual and establish this deep mental connection, and Allie is just staring at his biceps, thinking about the phrase sexual technology.
She did not care about Princeton.
She flat out said in her private confessional that she just wants to climb that tree. She does not care about his degree. She cares about his gym routine. She is so unapologetically there for physical vibes, and she refuses to pretend otherwise.
It was painfully funny to watch him realize she wasn't listening to a single word he said. But honestly, not nearly as painful as Kayla and DeMari's date. I've never seen a less romantic interaction captured on film in my life. It was a painfully awkward, strictly businesslike meeting. They are sitting there on this beautiful, incredibly expensive date set up, and what do they talk about? How frogs swallow their food.
Yes, how frogs use their eyeballs to physically push the food down their throats. Why are you talking about weird amphibian biology on a romantic reality TV date?
It was so random.
It was like watching 2 co-workers forced to have lunch together.
It's because DeMari is incredibly boring when he's not actively manipulating a situation. He has no genuine conversational skills. But I have to give Kayla her absolute flowers here. We need to applaud her.
Claps for Kayla.
She is meticulous, she is smart, and she observes everything. She realizes very quickly that DeMari is just stringing her along as a backup option in case his toxic situation with Marissa blows up. Later in the episode, when DeMari's back is against the wall, he actually tries to crawl back to Kayla and see if she's still an option for him to stay in the house.
So slimy.
And Kayla straight up rejects him. She tells him no, she's not interested in being his safety net or his second choice. She deserves a cash prize for that level of self-worth. It was the most satisfying moment of the season.
I cheered for Kayla. Don't lose my number, don't DM me, just absolute queen behavior. And then we have the final date of the three, Weston and Marissa. They do acro yoga on the beach, which is essentially just an excuse for a lot of intimate physical touching. And then they sit down and have this surprisingly deep philosophical conversation. Weston opens up, gets very vulnerable, and admits his biggest fear in life is being forgotten forever.
Which is an incredibly heavy, intense existential fear to drop on a first date while you're wearing swimwear and drinking out of a coconut.
It is a lot for day one.
But Marissa eats it up. They connect. They clearly have physical chemistry. And this date, combined with the kiss they shared at the mixer, sets the stage for what we need to unpack next. Villa implosion number 1.
Oh boy. Marissa and DeMari's endless cyclical loop of fighting. It was exhausting to watch, but we really need to dig into the psychology of what was happening here.
Let's unpack the hypocrisy first, because it's glaring. Marissa comes back to the main villa and knows she has to confess to DeMari about her deep connection and physical intimacy with Weston. But listen very closely to the linguistic gymnastics she uses to phrase it. She looks at DeMari and says, "He kissed me."
Wow, yeah.
She completely downplays her active participation. She frames it passively, as if she was just standing there like a statue, and Weston ambushed her face.
Which is such a blatant lie. We saw the footage, the producers played the tape.
Exactly. I have to shade her for this manipulation, because it is insidious. She was literally straddling Weston during a game. She was all the way in it. She made an active, enthusiastic, conscious choice to make out with another man, but she weaponizes the language to make herself sound like a passive victim of a kiss, shielding herself from blame. And then, in the very next breath, she has the audacity to be furious at DeMari for even politely looking at Kayla. It is mind-boggling.
The arguments they have are a masterclass in toxic communication loops. They just fight constantly in circles, and the main trigger is always Marissa interrupting him. Whenever DeMari tries to express a feeling or a thought, Marissa cuts him off defensively. He calmly asks her to stop interrupting, and she blows up. She immediately blames her ADHD and her rejection sensitivity dysphoria, demanding that he give her grace.
Oh, yeah.
And look, I want to be fair here. As someone who is heartfelt and tries to see the best in people, I really tried to sympathize with Marissa in this moment. Can you explain the actual mechanism of rejection sensitivity dysphoria? Because neurodivergence is very real, and I know RSD is incredibly painful. It literally makes neutral comments feel like vicious physical attacks, and you constantly need validation to soothe your nervous system. Like, I get that she is struggling internally.
Let me explain exactly how rejection sensitivity dysphoria works, and then I will explain why I am pushing back immediately on how Marissa uses it. RSD is a neurological misfiring common in people with ADHD. It means the brain cannot regulate the emotional response to perceived criticism. If someone says, "Hey, can you take out the trash?" the RSD brain might interpret that as, "You are lazy, I hate you, you are a failure."
That sounds exhausting.
It triggers a massive fight-or-flight response. It is a genuine, agonizing condition. However, I am stopping you right there when it comes to sympathizing with Marissa's behavior. You can have ADHD, you can have RSD, you can have a myriad of clinical struggles, but you cannot use clinical terms as a weaponized excuse to be rude, possessive, and hypocritical to your partner.
But she's trying to explain her brain chemistry to him.
She is demanding a free pass for bad behavior. She's using therapy speak as a shield, but she's swinging it like a battering ram to deflect any accountability for her own actions. She literally dictates who DeMari can even look at in the house. She was glaring at other women, aggressively telling DeMari he couldn't touch anyone's shoulder or bicep.
The possessiveness was wild.
She is insanely possessive over a man she met 2 weeks ago. But the second she straddles and kisses Weston, she demands grace and understanding for her neurodivergence. It is a massive, manipulative, double standard. But here is the critical piece. DeMari's reaction to her spiral is just as toxic, but in a much more covert way. We need to talk about emotional stonewalling.
Wait, what do you mean by stonewalling?
DeMari stays perfectly calm during these fights. He lowers his voice, he looks at her blankly, and he points out her flaws with zero emotional effect. It's deeply passive-aggressive. In psychology, emotional stonewalling is when a person completely withdraws from an interaction while staying physically present. When Marissa is spinning out, her amygdala is firing. She is in distress. Instead of reassuring her or actively communicating or even just walking away to let her cool down, DeMari just sits there like a brick wall. He offers zero facial expressions. This lack of affect actively triggers a distressed partner's nervous system into further hyperarousal. He knows she is spinning out, and he intentionally lets her look crazier and crazier on camera while he keeps his own hands clean.
That is so dark.
He did the exact same thing to Bree during their breakup. He uses calmness as a weapon to make the women in his life look unhinged to the outside world. They are both an absolute nightmare, feeding off each other's worst traits.
Wow. Okay, when you lay out the psychological mechanics like that, yeah, they're in a toxic death spiral. She is hyperreactive, and he is covertly withholding to trigger her. That is dark. But if we want to talk about a death spiral, we have to transition to villainplosion number 2, because this was pure chaos. Allie and Jimmy P.
The sequence was iconic reality television. It belongs in the Smithsonian.
It was an unparalleled mess.
Yeah.
The matching ceremony arrives, the time where everyone has to pick who they are sleeping in a bed with,
Yeah.
and Allie is heavily, noticeably intoxicated.
She was absolutely hammered.
She is slurring her words. She is crying erratically. She is literally draping her body across everyone's laps in the common area. She is paralyzed by the decision between Jimmy P., her original match, and Hashim, the guy she made out with. So Jimmy P. decides to step up and take control. He pulls her aside with everyone in the cast watching and pours his heart out.
Oh, it was so cringe.
He gives this huge, vulnerable, dramatic speech about his deep feelings for her. And in the middle of this tear-filled declaration of love, Sophie just bursts out laughing.
Sophie literally laughs out loud at the profound awkwardness of it all, and honestly, I praise Sophie for that.
You would?
It was the only sane, grounded reaction to an utterly absurd situation. Let's look at the context. Jimmy P. has been telling Allie he wants an open relationship all season long. He has been actively treating her like an option, exploring other women, and the second she actually exercises her agency and explores another option with Hashim, suddenly Jimmy's ego is bruised and he transforms into a lovesick puppy reciting Shakespearean poetry.
It was so fake.
It was performative, it was awkward, and Sophie laughing shattered the fourth wall in the best way possible. It called out the absurdity of the show.
Jimmy P gets so offended by the laughter, and he finally realizes that Allie is just completely paralyzed by indecision. She won't pick him, but she doesn't have the courage to pull the trigger and eliminate him either. So Jimmy finally does the noble, dramatic thing. He self-eliminates.
He takes his microphone off.
He stands up, packs his bags, and famously states to the room, when it comes to love, I want to be wanted. Which honestly is a phenomenal exit line.
It was a great cinematic line, but the aftermath completely instantly undercut his dramatic exit. Because the second the heavy wooden door clicks shut behind him, Allie's tears instantly dry up.
Like magic.
Like magic. She smiles, she practically skips over to Hashim, and they immediately start aggressively making out on the couch. She didn't even mourn Jimmy's departure for 30 seconds. The grief was entirely performative.
And her justification. This is where I truly lost my mind. The next morning, she is sitting in her confessional trying to explain her chaotic, flip-flopping behavior to the audience, and she looks dead into the camera lens and claims, I have 3 planets in my 8th house right now, so I'm horny.
I paused the TV. I had to physically stand up and walk around my living room to process what I just heard.
I was screaming.
Let's examine the mechanics of using astrology as an excuse for being messy, drunk, and wildly indecisive on national television. 3 planets in my 8th house. What does that even fundamentally mean in terms of personal accountability?
Literally nothing.
In psychology, this is called utilizing an external locus of control to resolve cognitive dissonance. You do something objectively bad or messy, you feel a twinge of guilt. Instead of saying, I made a selfish choice because I wanted to, which hurts your self-image, you blame the literal solar system to resolve the psychological tension. If you have 5 planets in your 8th house, are you just legally a public menace? It is the most absurd, hilarious, transparent excuse for bad behavior I have ever heard in my life.
It is peak delusion, and I respect it so much because of how audacious it is. Ally is just living on her own chaotic, planetary wavelength. But let's take a collective breath from the main drama and check in on the background characters, because the leaked off-screen tea regarding the people getting no screen time is piping hot.
Let's start with Yuman and Natalie. They have practically 0 screen time because they are treating this show not like a dating experiment, but like a corporate business arrangement.
A merger, really.
Yeah. They established a non-aggression pact on day one. They don't fight. They don't really kiss. They just exist to stay in the villa and collect the daily stipend. And I have the tea to prove it. Word on the street, and by street, I mean leaked reality TV insider forums and deep dive Reddit threads, is that Yaman went on Love Island prior to this without Netflix's permission and is reportedly already in a serious committed relationship with someone named Whitney back home.
Oh my gosh.
He is entirely 100% here as an independent contractor looking for a check and a boost in Instagram followers.
That is so incredibly shady. He is just taking up space.
Yeah.
But also, get your bag, I guess. It's an economy. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Jimmy S. and Allison. Shockingly, they are the most loyal, stable couple in the house.
Which is wild for this franchise.
Jimmy S. actually respected his boundaries. He went to the men's mixer, had gorgeous single women literally throwing themselves at him, and he just politely kissed them on the cheek and behaved himself. He is the only man who actually honored his match and proved that temptation is a choice.
It's true. They are boring for television, but they are probably the only ones who actually like each other as human beings. And finally, we have Dave and Sophie. Sophie is my new personal hero because she openly, plainly admits to Dave that she just wants a man to pay her bills.
She just says it.
She is unapologetic. She's not pretending to look for a soulmate. She's looking for a comprehensive financial plan.
I respect the sheer honesty. So many people on these shows pretend they want deep emotional love when they really just want a brand deal and a free trip to Coachella. Sophie just skips the middleman, looks at the camera, and says, "Finance my life."
And it seems like Dave might be doing exactly that. I am spilling the final drop of tea for this recap. Internet sleuths noticed that on New Year's Eve, months after filming ended, Dave and Sophie both posted identical photos to their grids.
Wait, I saw this.
They weren't in the photos together, but they posted the exact same luxury bathtub with the exact same imported tiles overlooking the exact same crystal blue ocean in the Maldives. It has sparked massive rumors that they actually won the show's grand prize vacation and took it together.
Okay, a luxury bathtub in the Maldives. That is the ultimate sugar daddy manifestation. The universe heard her. I love that for her. But wow, there is so much to unpack here. Looking at all this chaos, we have to officially crown the winners of what we like to call our biggest red flag energy breakdown. Because while the producers are messy, the cast is bringing their own terrifying behavioral mechanics to the table. Let's discuss the absolute most alarming behavior we saw.
This is my favorite part of the breakdown. And my first nominee for biggest red flag energy is Danny.
Oh no, I know exactly where this is going and my stomach is already turning. Please don't make me visualize this again.
I bring this up because it was a terrifying off-screen background fact revealed by Allison in a recent interview. During the mixer, Danny casually confessed to her that he has not washed his hair with shampoo in a year and a half.
I can't.
18 months. No soap, no surfactant, just vibes, natural oils, and water.
I am physically repulsed. Like, I am literally gagging. A year and a half. What is the reasoning behind this? Is it some sort of misguided natural microbiome holistic health thing? Because I don't care what pseudoscience article you read on Reddit, if you are sweating profusely under hot reality TV lighting in a tropical, humid villa and you haven't used a surfactant on your scalp since early 2024, you are a walking biohazard.
It is vile. Let's talk about the science of it. Your scalp produces sebum. Without a surfactant to break down the lipid layer, dead skin cells and bacteria get trapped. I joked earlier that his scalp must smell like a compost bin, but I'm actually dead serious.
The poor girls who had to sleep next to him.
The sheer unmitigated audacity to go on a dating show where you are expected to be physically intimate, cuddling, and close to people's faces, carrying 18 months of scalp buildup. That is a neon flashing red flag indicating a complete lack of self-awareness and consideration for others. But if we move away from hygiene and back into psychology, my second nominee for biggest red flag energy has to be Marissa.
Her extreme possessiveness. It really was hard to watch, even for me.
It's the possessiveness mixed with her complete lack of accountability regarding the Weston kiss. It is a terrifying combination. She wants absolute autonomy to be able to do whatever she wants, straddle a guy, kiss him passionately. But if DeMari even has a polite, platonic conversation with Kayla, she threatens to pack her bags and leave. But as we spiraled about earlier, I have to nominate DeMari's reaction as a massive red flag, too.
Right, the passive-aggressive calmness, the emotional stonewalling.
Exactly. I question if DeMari's calm reaction to everything is actually healthy emotional regulation or just a deeply passive-aggressive way to make Marissa look crazier on camera. When your partner is spiraling and you just stare at them with dead eyes and a flat tone, you are intentionally triggering their abandonment wounds while keeping your own hands clean for the audience. It's a covert red flag, but it's waving just as hard, if not harder, than hers.
That is such a profound point. It's like emotional stonewalling, disguised as maturity. Wow. Okay, moving from the red flags to the green flags. This transitions perfectly into our next debate. Who is actually here for love? Because we have to debate who seems genuine versus who is just fame-hungry and playing a character. Let's start with the genuine.
Shockingly, both of us agree on this, which rarely happens. Jimmy S. and Allison, they seem to have a real, quiet, authentic connection. They aren't performing for the cameras. They aren't staging massive, explosive blowouts for screen time. They just sit together, laugh genuinely at each other's jokes, and respect the boundaries they set for each other. It's almost startlingly out of place on a show this messy.
It is entirely out of place. They wandered onto the wrong set. They should be on a PBS documentary about healthy millennial bonding, not a Netflix show about swapping spit. But let's talk about the fame-hungry, because the list is exceptionally long. Yaman, as we discussed with the leaked tea, gets fully roasted here. He was blatantly coasting for screen time. He found a safe harbor in Natalie, dropped his anchor, and is just waiting for his follower count to tick up so he can sell protein powder.
He is treating the villa like a corporate networking event. But I also want to bring up Chris, the guy who was licking arms in the kissing challenge. He introduced himself as a motivational speaker, but he gives off massive, undeniable, fake rich energy.
The fake rich energy is palpable. It oozes out of the screen. He talks about how the woman he's with will never have to work a day in her life. But his Instagram doesn't list a single actual verifiable business. He gives off the distinct vibe of a guy who read Rich Dad Poor Dad exactly once, bought a fake Rolex in a back alley, and now sells incredibly vague online courses on how to be an alpha male. He is not here for love. He is here to build a sales funnel for his generic motivational lifestyle brand.
A sales funnel.
Yeah.
You are so ruthless and so accurately pinpointing the mechanics of his existence. Which brings up an interesting thought experiment. We spiraled about this in the intro, but let's get specific. If we were cast on this show instead of these people, how badly would we handle this emotionally? Could we survive reality dating TV?
I want you to paint the picture for me. You walk into the villa, the cameras are rolling. What is your absolute downfall?
My downfall would be completely swift, and it would end in a hyper-villain edit. Here is exactly how the mechanics of it happen. Day one, I walk into the communal bathroom and see a single stray hair in the sink and a damn mildewy towel on the floor. I give a look of absolute, unvarnished disgust directly into the camera lens. Boom. I am instantly established by the editors as the difficult diva.
I can literally see it happening.
Day two, the blindfolded kissing challenge happens. I step up, look Nick Lachey dead in the eye, and say, I am not catching a dormant strain of mononucleosis for Netflix. Absolutely not. I refuse to participate. The producers hate me because I'm ruining the game. The cast thinks I'm arrogant. I spend the rest of my brief time in the villa, sitting in a shaded cabana entirely alone, meticulously applying SPF 50 sunscreen, drinking sparkling water, and silently judging everyone's terrible conversation skills until I am unceremoniously voted out for not being vulnerable enough.
You would be the icy, unbothered queen. I would actually love watching you on TV. You would be the voice of reason. My downfall is the exact opposite. My downfall is my absolute, desperate, pathological need for everyone to like me, combined with zero emotional armor.
Oh, they would eat you alive.
I would walk in, and the first guy to give me a modicum of attention, like he remembers my favorite color is yellow, or brings me an iced coffee without me asking, I would imprint on him like a baby duck. I would abandon all logic and strategy. And then the moment Nick Lachey announces a mixer and my guy goes to talk to someone else, I would completely shatter.
You would be sobbing on the floor.
I would be the girl in the confessional wearing oversized sunglasses indoors, clutching a pillow and sobbing about how I thought what we had was real after exactly 36 hours of knowing each other. I would be a meme. A tragic, embarrassing meme on Twitter.
You would be excellent television, but your nervous system would be irreparably destroyed. Neither of us are walking away with a Neil Lane ring or a FabFitFun brand deal. Which brings us to our final evaluation. Knowing what we know about the economics of this cast, let's do our sugar daddy manifestation rankings. Who is playing the long game to secure the bag?
Okay, the premise is ranking which contestants seem most likely to secure luxury lifestyles after the show based on their behavior in the villa. And I am giving the absolute top spot to Sophie.
Oh, without a doubt.
I applaud her vision.
Yeah.
She has unabashed, refreshing honesty about looking for financial security above all else, whether it's Dave flying her out to the Maldives for New Year's Eve in a luxury bathtub, or Chris trying to brag to her about his fake wealth so she never has to work again. Sophie is playing the game to secure the bag. She doesn't pretend to be heartbroken when guys leave. She assesses their net worth, calculates the ROI, and moves accordingly. It is tactical genius.
She is a financial sniper, an absolute mercenary, and I respect it. Honorable mention has to go to Allie. Now, Allie might not be actively looking for a sugar daddy to pay her rent, but she is treating the entire Perfect Match villa like a fully funded, all-inclusive luxury vacation to get drunk, cry on laps, and kiss hot men with absolutely zero real-world consequences. She is milking the Netflix production budget for all it is worth. The free premium alcohol, the free treehouse dates, the free orchestrated drama. She is consuming it all like a queen at a feast.
She really is the MVP of treating reality TV like a multi-million-dollar frat party. Honestly, good for her.
Well, babes, our emotional stamina is officially depleted. We have unpacked the trauma, the off-screen tea, the psychological warfare, and the absolute delusion of episodes 6 and 7.
Huge thank you to you, our favorite member of the Snark Squad, for hanging out and spiraling with us today. This recap was a marathon of mess, and we couldn't do it without you riding shotgun and analyzing this sociological disaster with us. Before you go, we need you to weigh in down in the comments. We have questions based on today's spirals, and we need your answers to fuel our ongoing life crises. Number 1, is a private Spanish immersion school actually worth the money? Or should my niece just learn to drink from a public school garden hose and build character?
Build that character.
Number 2, is modern dating completely terrifying? Or are we just overly critical and too reliant on our margaritas? Number 3, be brutally honest with yourselves. Which reality dating show do you genuinely think you could survive with your dignity intact? And lastly, what is your absolute favorite summer cocktail to heal your specific brand of emotional damage?
Drop your answers in the comments. We read every single one. But before we officially sign off, I want to leave you with a philosophical, slightly terrifying thought to mull over. We mocked Weston's deep, dark fear during his acro-yoga date with Marissa, his intense fear of being forgotten forever. But if we really look in the mirror, are we all just posting on social media, curating our grids, tracking our likes, and swiping endlessly on dating apps because we secretly share Weston's terrifying fear of being forgotten forever? Are we all just performing for the void, hoping someone, anyone, remembers we exist?
Oh, God. The existential dread just hit me like a Mack truck. I need another margarita immediately to unthink that thought. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a moment of our weekly spirals.
Stay messy, stay delusional, and we will see you on the Snark side.